last year with Kentucky, 15 times the SEC Coach of the Year, and inarguably one of the very best over the course of her distinguished career. As Missy, we get to tonight's impact players.
Yeah, we talked about Tiara Caesar, and she joins an already well-established junior class at Florida with the returning All-American Thayer Hall. Marley Monterey will be setting now with a year's experience under her belt as a starter. And for Auburn, keep your eyes on a freshman. Audrey Douglas will be taking some swings from the right side. Coach is excited about her future. And of course, they return Tatum Shipes on the outside, who was their leading kill producer from a season ago.
Auburn, speaking of a season ago, was only 7-22. They managed just a single victory in the SEC Conference. A change was certainly needed and probably overdue. Well, Florida was 27-5, advanced to the regional semifinals before losing to Minnesota 3-2. Set to go, Auburn in their home red uniforms, or orange uniforms, excuse me, if you will. Florida has dominated this series, the 53rd meeting all time. Florida with 49 wins. The last Auburn win was in 5 sets in this building back in 2015 as Bella Rosenthal, defensive specialist, will start things out. Best 3 out of 5 sets. Set out of the backcourt. It drops nicely in front of the Florida defense.
Point Auburn.
Tatum Shipes with just a really smart look at the court, drops one right in the middle. That was one thing that Coach Crouch mentioned on multiple occasions as we talked to him, Paul. We have to get a swing every time, whether it be from the front row or the back row.
Rosenthal with the service ace, working against Caesar in the left back.
Coach also talked about the fact that that's one of the big changes you'll see this year at Auburn. Much more aggressive serving. Twice they've gone after Tiara Caesar. It looked like they're going for her again that time, Paul, but that one catches the net.
Well, Brent Crouch told us in our Zoom call earlier in the week, he said, when I got here, all of these players were standing on the floor serving float serves. He said, wait a minute, this is 2020. We got a jump float. I mean, let's get with it. And so he's had to make a lot of very, very basic changes. Not a good set. And we'll talk about the setting story. Jackie Barrett, 6'1" freshman out of Highland, California, won the job, but she has a high ankle sprain, so she is unavailable. Marissa Hines, who played 16 matches last year, the transfer from Wyoming, has been pressed into duty as 2-time All-American Thayer Hall comes on to serve. Shipes again sprays that long.
Point Florida.
Another back row swing, Paul, and I think that's what we're going to see from Auburn. We're going to see swings. When they're out of system, they plan to be aggressive. You know, Coach said volleyball is going to be fast and furious this year. He said there's times where it's going to look really exciting. You're going to see glimpses of the future, and there's times where it could be a little ugly.
That's a really nice tip to the floor by Hines. We had our first look at Thayer Hall, 2-time All-American, as she came on to serve. Just a question about Thayer Hall and where she is in her junior year. Maybe fully healthy for the first time.
Yeah, Mary Wise said if there's anybody that the whole quarantine process might have been good for, it was Thayer, who had always played with some nagging injuries. And that time off was so good for her body. There's the first kill for Tiara Caesar in orange and blue as she just paces one down the line.
Caesar out of Panama City, Florida, mentioned that she transferred from the Bulldogs of Georgia, hasn't played in just a little bit less than 2 years, and we showed you her numbers. A tremendously impactful player as the libero Paula Sarame comes on to serve. Back row again, and on the wrist away, Auburn with a nice kill in transition.
And again, we're seeing aggressive swings out of the back row for Auburn. It was Shipes with an off speed out of left front, and then they're able to work the ball to Val Green in transition. And these Auburn players looking really comfortable taking big rips out of the backcourt.
Here is Peyton White out of Zionsville, Indiana, the libero for Auburn. The 5'7" senior comes from an awfully good pedigree. Shipes again up into the block, barely kept alive, and then an unforced error that time off of Lauren Dooley, and a nice reaction and hard work by Auburn.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, Auburn does a great job early in that rally transitioning the swing from Holly Carlton out of right front, and they don't transition that into a kill, but they're able to prolong the rally, and they just stick with it there.
White's older sister, Kendall, two-time first-team All-American for Russ Rose at Penn State. That ball luckily off the top of the tape and down.
That time it's Thayer Hall of Florida out of the back row, giving Auburn a little of their own medicine, and that's certainly something that Mary Wise also alluded to as we talked to her earlier this week, is that the back row attack would be alive and well on their side of the net.
Here is Holly Carlton, 6'7" redshirt senior out of Sterling, Virginia. Started her career at the University of North Carolina, and a really strong, long, explosive block by Florida.
And here you see Tiara Caesar is going to be left all alone, and that is absolutely no problem for her against Jaden Brown. So they are able to commit their middle to the outside, and you got someone with the likes of Caesar out there. Free
ball. I know it's early, but Auburn needs to take advantage of all of these relatively easy opportunities, and they do.
And after being blocked, trying to go cross court, they go back to Jaden Brown off 1 foot behind the setter. That time she switches it up a little, swings down the line against that Caesar block. And a really nice swing there from Jaden Brown for a point.
Brown undersized, the 6-foot senior out of Hollywood, Florida, transfer from the University of Southern Florida. Marissa Hines out of Olathe, Kansas, on to serve. Working on Caesar. That's a pretty nice swing. Take us back to her early days, Missy, when she was at Georgia, and the potential that she had then, and what's the upside for her with respect to how she's going to play within the Florida system.
Yeah, I think the upside is that she has the ability, teams are going to go after her in serve receive, but I think she has the ability to get real comfortable passing and swinging. She's very natural at that. She's so fluid. Mary Wise said from the time she leaves the floor to the time the ball leaves her hand, it is really fast, that she can get on a defense in a hurry. And that ball gets on the defense, or excuse me, the passers in a hurry there from the service line.
Number 3, Tiara.
Couple of kills, a stuff block one-on-one, and now the service ace as Florida goes out on top. 8-6. Boy, that was really poorly set, well off the net. Out of the back row again, Caesar, the high touch into the Auburn block. And that ball missed on the outside, an unforced error for Auburn. That was Audrey Douglas, the 6'4" freshman out of Winter Park, Florida, that missed that first opportunity. That's a tight pass, and that's going to be ruled as a back row attack. Setters in the back row, so violated the plane of the net going up after that errant pass.
And Paul, as you have so often said, for all the young players out there watching, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be on the net. Keep it back there on the 5-meter line. Just give them a chance.
Got to get a good swing 98% of the time. And speaking of good swings, nicely done by Hall, number 20 in blue, easily into the cross court. Maybe time for Auburn. She is out with a shoulder injury, not only for the fall, but all the way through into the spring season as well. So Auburn playing shorthanded as they start their season.
And there's Audrey.
Douglas with her first kill.
And we'll see her playing on the right side for Auburn, but in serve receive now a couple times, setting her out there at that left pin. You get a good look at their freshman and what she's capable of.
A 2019 high school All-American in Hollywood, Florida, as we mentioned, the #1 recruit, along with the setter, Jackie Barrett. Here is Shipes. And Thayer Hall misses that ball out of bounds. Missy, if we can, let's talk for a moment about Marley Monserrat, the 6-foot junior out of Windermere, Florida. Been in the lineup now for quite a while, very experienced setter. How can she help take this Florida team where they want to go, which obviously means competing for a national championship? Block out of the middle.
I think she's always been a really athletic addition to the Florida team. I think for her, she had played a lot of positions coming into Florida. So growing in her role of as a setter in terms of her decision making, getting her players one-on-one and being really consistent with her ball delivery, I think that's really the next step for her in her career. And Mary said she put in so much time during quarantine. It's hard to practice volleyball on your own, but she used a bounce back board, got all kinds of reps in. So hoping that really pays off for her.
That ball missed just out of bounds. in the cross-court attempt by number 16, Val Green. It's been a Montserrat show at Florida in Gainesville for years and years, going all the way back to 2011 between Allie and Madison. There's been a Montserrat playing for Mary Weiss. Are there any more coming? Do you know, Missy, are there any more?
That's it.
Okay, that's it.
The end.
All right. All right. Nice pass. And Shipes with a swing out of the backcourt and gets the touch called. Number 21 in orange, Tatum Shipes, 6'4" junior out of Buford, Georgia.
And that serve for Florida came from Paige Hammonds as they had snuck their senior outside hitter onto the floor there for a serve. She led the Gators in service aces a year ago, typically played in 6 rotations for them in Florida, now so deep on the outside, so we'll see how they continue to use their talent.
Defensive specialist Persons coming on to serve. And on the slide, hammered down the line. Very nice offense run by the Florida Gators.
Great look coming at you of Darielle King as she loads in the middle, slides behind off 1 foot. Darielle, a redshirt senior now, has always been right on the bubble of deep middle blockers at Florida. And you certainly hope for her sake, all the work she's put in, that this is a breakout year for her.
Out of DeSoto, Texas, played in 20 matches last year, hit a very respectable 375.
Yes, she did.
Auburn's passing the ball pretty well. Again,
yes.
The setting and the connection just not there. That was a pretty good first contact. I like that set in transition, but a much better block by the 6'3", aforementioned Darielle King.
And she's blocking alongside number 40 there in blue, Holly Carlton, who's 6'7". Mary Wise talked about the fact that her outside hitters, one of the reasons they've improved is because they play against this block every day in their own gym. Try swinging into that.
It's going to be a net violation. Oh, a double contact that time called against Marissa Hines. Chesney McClellan, 6'4" senior out of Knoxville, on the floor now for Brent Crouch and Auburn. We asked Coach Crouch on our Zoom call the other day if everybody was healthy, everybody expected to play. Sure enough, they are. Nice tuck inside the block, but Tatum Shipes has got enough tape on her leg for about 4 people. I don't know how you define healthy.
Number 6, Bella Rosenthal to serve.
Bella Rosenthal had a great season last year. Of course, as I say that, she serves one in the net. But really fantastic season a year ago. And Coach was so complimentary of his core of defensive specialists here at Auburn. He said we rotate all of them through at practice and that they make one another better. And he said we want to become that deep in every position, where we have players pushing each other in each position, just like we do at the defensive specialist position.
Rosenthal averaged just a tick under 4 digs per set in SEC play, so outstanding indeed. Shipes with a miscue there from well behind the 3-meter line, and Florida in complete control now, 17-11.
Number 20, Thayer Hall to serve.
Overpass, look out. Tiara Caesar. Another timeout is called. Yeah, big move. And a big challenge to rebuild this program, or to build it, if you will. Auburn is a program that's only been to the NCAA tournament once in the history of their competition in college volleyball, and that was all the way back in 2010. Out of the timeout, Hall missing the serve. So a huge task ahead, but I think that Auburn has certainly got the right man on the sideline.
Now Green to serve.
There have been a lot of changes on the sideline around the SEC. We'll talk about that more as the match goes along. Another service error. I don't think any conference, Missy, and you would know better than I, has had as many changes in the coaching position in the sport of volleyball as the SEC. The list is long.
It certainly is. Over the last 3 years, and not just changes, but some really nice hires.
Nice play by Sarame. Not only the touch, but good ball control. And then the off-speed shot by Caesar. Really good transition opportunity. 3 years or less. And keep in mind, Tom Black goes from Loyola Marymount, Karch Karai's assistant at the 2016 Olympics. He's now at Georgia. But look at that list. The incredible turnover. Berg Kuhn taking over for the Hall of Famer Lori Corbelli and not skipping a beat. She was the SEC Coach of the Year last year.
Tom Mendoza on that list at South Carolina has taken the Gamecocks to back-to-back NCAA tournaments. What a great job he's doing there.
Kayla Banworth, I'll be down at Ole Miss on Friday. Kayla Banworth, the starting libero for Karch Kirai at the Rio Olympic Games, won a bronze medal there, also a gold medalist at the World Championships. And 4 years post her playing career, she's a head coach in a Power 5 conference school. Here is Shipes. Boy, that's a nice transition. Tiara Caesar just too heavy, thumping that ball through the block. Caesar now with 5 kills on 7 swings with no errors. Here is Sarame back to serve. Her older sister Paulina had an All-American career. Went to a couple of national semifinals and a championship match at the University of Texas as that ball is missed out of bounds. Lauren Durrell, 6-foot senior out of Brentwood, Tennessee. Just a little bit wide for the Auburn Tigers.
Durrell
Florida
out
2 points
last
away.
year with an injury. So getting a look at her here in 2019. Excuse me, 2020. Wow.
Can't we just forget 2020?
That's what I was going to say. Aren't we all trying to erase that? I guess I am.
Here is White. Perfect pass by Hall. And that ball crushed into the cross court by Carlton. Mary Weiss just loves the versatility and the contribution and the maturity of number 40 in blue, Holly Carlton. It helps that she's 6'7" as well.
Right, that does help. But I'll tell you, I was able to look at her press conference from earlier this week, and wow, is she put together. I mean, someone needs to go ahead and hire her at a Power 5 country, or a Power 5, a big-time business, because I was so impressed with Holly and just the way that she was so deliberate in how she spoke and thoughtful of her answers. And what a leader she must be for this team.
And she can be a first-rate setter. She played both ways, if you will, at North Carolina and sometimes at Florida as well. A 6'7", 5'1" setter, that would be kind of unique. Set point number 2. Hall tipping out of the backcourt and just in front of the sprawling Peyton White. 10 errors hitting negative. And yes, in volleyball statistics, if you're not familiar, it's not a batting average. I know the World Series is going on, but it's not a batting average. It's kills minus errors divided by attempts. So you can hit below the Maginot line as Marley Monserrat, number 21 in blue, the starting setter, will go back to the line to start set number 2. Best 3 out of 5 sets.
And for Auburn, they did generate 9 kills, which is a big issue for them from a season ago. We're not able to generate enough offense. It's just that they had way too many errors to go along with it, Paul. Florida 10 kills, Auburn 9. That's a good start in set 2, though. Ball to Chesney McClellan, and she gets an early kill for the Tigers.
What do you need more of from Auburn? I thought their first ball contact was pretty good. They passed the ball well enough to be in that set.
Yeah, and I think the fact that they generated just 1 less kill than Florida in that first set, I think right now it's what Coach Crouch said. Volleyball is going to be about our side of the net, particularly here in year 1. And so it's about cleaning up errors. They're going to have to learn to walk that line between being really aggressive and yet playing clean enough volleyball to keep themselves in a match.
Thayer Hall with her opening kill of the second stanza, the 6'3" junior out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. Dig right on target to Sarame. Carlton is dug, and that's going to be another double contact called against number 12, Marissa Hines.
Credit that Auburn backcourt, though, who in a one-on-one situation is doing a great job of digging up Holly Carlton there. That was a beautiful choice by Marley Monserrat to get Carlton one-on-one. And that Auburn defensive core really doing nice work across the back line.
That ball served out of bounds. And just to reiterate the point, Marissa Hines out there doing the best job she possibly can, number 12 in orange for Auburn. But the number 1 setter, top recruit, 6'1" freshman out of California, Jackie Barrett, with a high ankle sprain. There she is in the boot. And she is sorely missed. And hopefully will be back very soon. High ankle sprain can be a very, very dicey situation, but don't want to speculate on her return or lack thereof.
And of course, Paul, they're also missing Lily Thomason, who averaged nearly 2.5 kills per set last year. Those two players, you know, with so much going on in terms of our players going to be in and out with like contact tracing. On top of that, now Auburn has to deal with these injuries. So in this year is a year you really hope you don't have normal injuries, because there's so much else you have to deal with that's out of your control.
Val Green again out of the back row, 3 kills now. Let's see, 3 kills on 10 swings for Green.
And swinging out of the back row against a team like Florida can give you room to swing because of how big and physical that Florida block is. And so Auburn going to the back row swing quite a bit here early in this match, and I think it gives their hitters room to swing around the block and to swing confidently.
Shipe's going to be a main recipient, along with Green, of a lot of back row opportunities. Nice pass again. And the stuff out of the middle is better. Beautifully done by number 99. Must be a Wayne Gretzky fan, Lauren Dooley, the 6'6" junior out of Plano, Texas.
Dooley, the only Gator a season ago to average over 1 block per set at 1.04. She is a wall up there.
Ball mismangled that time by Auburn. Do you think any of the kids out there on the floor know who Wayne Gretzky is?
I think so.
Okay, I hope so. I hope so. Aptly known as the Great One.
Yes.
Holly Carlton with the service error.
And with that, she'll check out of the match, and we've been seeing a defensive sub for her, and that's a freshman for Florida wearing 23, Ellie McKissick out of Windermere, Florida.
5'7" freshman. Her sister Maddie is at Georgia Tech, was the ACC Setter of the Year last season. I saw Georgia Tech about 10 days ago, and that team's for real. Georgia Tech is really, really good. They're going to have a lot of success in the ACC. Notre Dame is good. Pittsburgh we know about. Louisville is good. Notre Dame is physically very, very impressive. Touch off the top of the block. And nice high flat shot once again by Green with her 4th kill.
Coach was very complimentary of Val Green, just said what a smart player she is. She understands when sometimes you just need to call for a high ball to the outside in order just to get a swing offensively out of every possession. And so that time she knows that it's not there, and she purposely swings high off those hands, just playing smart volleyball.
Auburn trying to apply some pressure from the service line, and sometimes that's good and sometimes it creates a lot of errors. But if they're going to try to upset or take a set off of Florida, they're going to have to really get on a roll from the service line. Jump floats, flat, clean, lots of movement, and put on some pressure. Auburn already with half a dozen service errors, which doesn't surprise me. Paige Hammond, 6'1" senior out of Louisville, an all-SEC performer, on to serve and see Hammonds for the first time. Nice dig by Caesar. Boy, I like that off speed. Really good read by Hall.
Yeah, it certainly was. And if you'll see here, as we see the dig again, Thayer doesn't really have a whole lot of time to load here. She doesn't get far enough off the net, take a big swing at the ball, so I like the choice of off speed. And she knows that help is coming from left front, so she tips it right down the line.
Off the edge of the block and down. Nice kill that time by Audrey Douglas. I tell you
what, you
what.
can't beat the block, use the block. And when you're playing Florida, it's hard to beat that block, so you better be good at using it.
I have been impressed with the passing technique of Auburn right now. They have been willing to change, been willing to do things differently, and Brent Crouch has got this team in serve receive, at least so far, pretty smooth, which is a nice building block. Hall is dug. And again. Shipes playing some defense with that heavily wrapped right leg. And an unforced error there, a little miscommunication as Green comes up well short.
They've got Tiara Caesar loading out of the backcourt. She is ready to take swings out of the back row. Obviously, that's going to be a big part of the Florida offense. But again, you see this backcourt from Auburn just doing a great job keeping balls alive. That's a big swing from Thayer Hall, and Auburn just won't let it hit the floor. They do make teams earn their points, I will say that.
Ball set a little bit too low, kept alive out of the middle. And Hall, as you said, if you can't beat the block, use the block, and that plays on both sides. Number 20 in blue, Thayer Hall, with her 6th kill on 13 swings. Here is Montserrat. Another really good pass. That ball was very settable. And through the block and down, Val Green comes back after missing one, finding a small seam against the Gators.
Val Green just doing a great job playing within herself, not trying to do too much. You see the nice pickup. And then how about that set there by Marissa Hines on the move, spin set, and hangs a nice ball up to the outside.
Again, that ball served out of bounds. I think you just got to live with it if you're Auburn. If you're an Auburn fan, you just got to live with a lot of service errors, because the only way you're going to pull off the upset against a quality opponent like Florida is, again, to really, really get on a roll from the service line. Here's Hall. Florida won the opening set 25-14, on top now by 5. Oh, nice block. Darielle King with the stuff.
And this was advantage block all the way to me, Paul. This is one that Florida has to have, as it's dying inside a little bit. Chesney McClellan had approached beyond that ball and just had nowhere to go. That one's right into the hands of Darielle King, who all she has to do there is seal that, and that should be a point for sure.
Caesar, my mistake, might have gotten the most of that. What's the technique? You see Caesar sort of mirroring, if you will, or shadowing the attacker on the slide. We'll get back to that when we come back. Timeout is called by Auburn, and once again, all Mary Weiss and the Florida Gators on the road open up conference play, already up 1-0. Caesar, Hall, Carlton coming out of the timeout called by Auburn, and already blocking has been a mainstay for the Florida Gators.
And Paul, to your point on Tiara Caesar, she's in the front row with the setter. So you see her in a very tight base, because that's actually her attacker, but she certainly has her eye on McClellan there, who's loading behind, made it pretty obvious where she was going to attack from, and that was easy pickings for Tiara Caesar.
That's something that's evolved in the blocking scheme for a lot of teams around the country. Nice block again. The slide is such a dynamic attack from the offensive team and the serve receiver transition team. So now the blocker that matches up, she just mirrors or shadows the same approach as the attacker, and so they can be maybe at the same height above the net. It's a really good technique.
Yeah, and if they're going to set the slide, Auburn, they've got to make sure to get it all the way out to the antenna to make Tiara Caesar at least have to chase. They're setting it right into her at this point.
Green out of the back row, taken overhand by Montserrat. Sarame with a pretty nice delivery to the outside. Florida now leading 16-7.
Auburn continuing to go to that back row attack really consistently, and then the bump set to Holly Carlton maybe just a little tight, and Holly wisely goes up that 6'7" frame with that long reach and just tips it right down into the blocker's hand.
Florida on a 9-2 run. Auburn's got to get out of this rotation. Green is dug. Nice first contact, lots of options, and why not? Go to the outside quickly to number 3, Tiara Caesar.
And in system, I really like the pace of that set from Marley Montsary. I think that's something that she does well. In system, she jump sets and gets that ball out to Tiara Caesar in a hurry. Doesn't put too much air under that one so that the block doesn't have time to catch up.
You know, we've been very complimentary of the first ball contact of Auburn, and rightfully so. There's another perfect pass. Florida is also doing a very, very good job, not only in transition, but also first ball receive. Nice dig by Green. And Green out of the back row, not a good set. Dug by Sarame. Transition setting from Florida right now, not anywhere near where Mary Weiss would like it, I'm sure.
And Chesney McClellan with a couple blocks there in the final stuff block for the point. No surprise, though, as Coach had told us that she has a good arm, but she's really a great blocker. That one of the things she does well is read the game.
Talking about the transition setting, one too tight for Florida, one way off the net, and Auburn took advantage. If you want to be elite, you have to be really good. That's going to be a back row attack error, easy to call. Val Green, aggressive, well over the 3-meter line.
But he certainly has unleashed this team to given them a lot of ability to be comfortable taking big rips no matter where they are on the court. And that was one of the ways that Coach Crouch described his style of volleyball. He said it's going to be unleashed. He said players like to play that way.
Another set into the back row, and that also missed. So back-to-back hitting errors for Green, number 16 in orange, and Auburn, and now the lead is 19-8.
And as you mentioned, Paul, Florida having a little trouble with the transition dig when they're digging that back row attack.
Well, this is a very, very good team for Mary Weiss, no question about that. They're experienced. They've got good libero play, good setter. They've got Thayer Hall. Now you add to that Caesar. And I really like what Holly Carlton has to offer. But again, if you're going to be elite, if you're going to play with Nebraska and Wisconsin and Minnesota, when you dig a ball and get a chance to score, you better be very efficient. And that ball blocked, covered by White, but the play could not be continued by Auburn. That's a pretty big block. 6'7" on the outside and 6'3". So timeout is called once again by first-year head coach Brent Crouch. Teams to the sideline here at the Auburn Arena, Florida, leading at 20-18. Want to remind you, Thursday at 7 Eastern, our critically acclaimed series True South return. When we were speaking to head coach Mary Weiss and you were talking about the freshman middle blockers, Nidhi Okamore, Mary Weiss made a point that she is so grateful and so thankful to all of her players for being responsible during COVID. They go to practice, go to training table, go back to their apartments. You have to really, really go the extra mile in order to make sure that you stay as healthy as possible for the good of yourself, the good of your teammates, and your program. And I'm sure all the coaches feel the same way. It's a real challenge for the players.
Yeah, she said these student athletes this year are being asked to do things that no other class or year has ever been asked to do. And she said whenever we meet, I applaud them and I thank them for the decisions that they're making. These are college kids who are really being asked to sacrifice a lot in order to stay safe. And they're very committed to being able to compete. And Mary Weiss knows that they are giving up a lot, and she's very grateful. She said, 3 days a week now, they're waiting outside at 7:30 in the morning to be tested for COVID, 3 mornings a week, on top of everything else they have on their schedule.
Quickly on the tap down, tight play at the net, and that's going to be Auburn's ball, a center line violation. And the woman right there, Jaden Brown, wearing number 8 in orange, the 6-foot senior out of Florida. She's got a good arm. Saw her on the slide, and as well as Auburn has been passing, like to see her get a lot more opportunities.
That was the arm that Coach Crouch called a cannon, actually. So he agrees with you. He thinks she has a good arm, too.
Nice set in transition. Shipes off speed. Florida players on the floor. Auburn going to get a free ball out of it. Dug by Montsary outside to Carlton. And that's going to be another double contact.
Jaden Brown out there alongside Shipes doing a great job getting some block slowdowns against Holly Carlton, consistently touching that swing and allowing their defense to transition that.
7 scoring blocks for Florida, but that doesn't include all of the block touches that you just pointed out to create transition opportunities. Shipes, nice tip. Excellent stretch that time by Sarame, but not quite enough. That's a pretty good play by Paula Sarame, 5'8" junior out of Boca Raton, Florida, taking over for Allie Gregory.
And here's that tip, well placed there by Tatum Shipes. Paula Sarame doing everything she can to get an arm on it. She's now playing defense right behind Sophia Victoria, wearing 4 in blue for the Gators, and she'll get her first rip of the ball.
This is a deep Florida team. Their gym must be very, very competitive indeed. That is Sophia Victoria, the 6'1" freshman out of Puerto Rico. Her sister Pilar had an All-American career at Arkansas after transferring from Texas, and has played for the under-18 team in Puerto Rico in the Pan American Cup. Nice dig by Shipes. For you young players out there, that was a perfect dig. 3-4 feet off the net, Monserrat with all kinds of choices as Florida continues to roll over Auburn.
And now Sophia Victoria will serve. And I'll tell you, Paul, Mary Wise' decision to get these young freshmen in on the court here very early, the first match of the year, I think speaks to the potential she believes they have to perhaps make an impact early in their Gator career.
Won the opening set 25-14. Really important to have a competitive gym, and you look at some of the recruits that have come in now from Mary Weiss again. That's got to be a really, really fun training situation. Ball passed too tight, gives Auburn an opportunity. Nice dig by McKissick. Good read by McKissick. Tough chance for Hall, had to come in and cover the deflection and missed it just over the sideline.
Deflection at the net point, Florida.
Well, they called the public address announcer said that there was a touch, but I don't. Well, they called a touch. Yep, as we thought. It's going to be 24-13.
No touch, point Auburn.
And so Mary Weiss and Florida have 2 challenges remaining. The correct score is 24-13. There we go. There we go. And set point again for Florida. Katie Persons on to serve once again. Thayer Hall misses back-to-back. That one cross-body down the line. Still a wide. The shot was wide, but Florida and Hall still have a very wide margin for error.
Yes,
leading
they do.
24-14. Yeah, then nobody's getting very nervous right now on the Florida side. They earned this big lead. Back to Hall again. And tips that ball on the sideline, and that'll do it. It took 3 tries. Hall registers the kill. Thayer Hall.
Really confident in that. So I think Florida's obviously one of them. You take a look at Kentucky, who has the same problem as Florida. How do you play 3 and 4 outside hitters all in one match? Kentucky's so incredibly deep. It's hard to believe that after graduating Leah Edmond, they could still be that talented, and yet they are. And then, of course, I think Texas A&M is in the mix now with Bird Kuhn doing a great job there. And Mizzou has a big-time point scorer in Kylie DeBerg. And when you have that sort of point scorer on the floor, she generates a lot of points from the left pin, so they are always a dangerous team.
Just underway in the 3rd set. Another service error coming from Auburn after they scored the first point on a hitting error from Florida, but I think you just got to live with that.
It's something that drives fans absolutely crazy, Paul, but as you begin to understand the game, you understand how important it is to be aggressive from the service line if you want to score points.
Well, if you just serve in against Florida with all of their talent, they're just going to pummel you. So you might as well take some risk and hope that they have a a bad night in first contact as Thayer Hall goes back to the line once again. 7 kills on 20 swings. Right now Florida hitting under 200 so far on the match. They struggled a little bit in that second set. They had 5 hitting errors. Nice dig. And Caesar over the top and down. You know, when you look around the country, Missy, the Big 12 is playing, the ACC is playing, the SEC, Big 10 and Pac-12 are not, among several other conferences. But you've been covering the SEC conference for a bit of time. We saw all the new coaches in the conference. I mean, there's no doubt about it that the SEC has really emphasized and really prioritized making a mark in women's volleyball.
Yeah, I think that, you know, that was what Coach Crouch alluded to so many times as we spoke to him, was the commitment of Auburn to their women's volleyball program. He said, you know, I came here and all of the volleyball facilities are less than 2 years old. He said, this is a place that I can recruit to. And he said what just blew his mind was the number of people in place at Auburn and across the SEC to support their student athletes and what these young ladies have at their disposal to help them to be successful. He said it was really just mind-blowing. And because of that, he feels confident that this is a place where championships can be won.
And he told us that in spite of COVID and restrictions on visiting high school players and junior gyms and things like that, he's already signed a really good class for 2022. So brighter days are coming to Auburn after they won only 1 SEC match last year and a total of 6 over the last 2 seasons. Here is Green. That's a nice, high, hard, flat swing off the edge of the block.
And we continue to see Mary Wise insert her bench into this match as everybody getting some swings. That's Haley Warner, who's now a 6'2" junior out of Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Here is Sarame. Transition opportunity. I love the play. What a good read by Sarame and the choice by Monserrat, but Thayer Hall just coming up a little bit short out of the pipe.
Yeah, I love the way Thayer went with the play. Tried to stay out there in front of Marley to be an option coming out of the back row. She and Tara Caesar are both very aware out of middle back that they have to load each time offensively to be an option. They're doing a great job working really hard.
Caesar from behind the 3-meter line. Nice dig again by Sarame. Good ball control. And kept alive. Auburn with another opportunity and another stuffed block by Tiara Caesar.
Sarame literally just bats it back at her own teammate, doing anything she can to keep this ball alive here as she takes a whack at it. And then Thayer Hall is able to send it over. And when you're Florida and you've got elite level blocking at the net, just to live to play defense, give yourself another chance, because it's the stuffed block that ends up scoring the point.
Tied at 5. You see Florida now with the 8-3 advantage in terms of scoring blocks, as McKissick will come on once again to serve for the Gators. Last year, Florida 27-5, tied Kentucky 16-2 for the conference title. Val Green misses that ball out of bounds. Missy, I know you know this. Did Florida lose twice to Kentucky last year? Were those the only 2 losses in conference? Don't I have that right?
Ooh, I don't want to speak.
Service error by McKissick. Craig Skinner's done a tremendous job during his tenure at the University of Kentucky, the Wildcats. Seemingly a program that's in the mix year in, year out now, and had a really top recruiting class, did he not?
Oh, you better believe it. Craig Skinner with the #1 recruiting class in the country.
That ball deflected out of bounds off Auburn, and now Florida with the advantage. Let's take a look at the coaches poll in the preseason. Kentucky picked over Florida. You talked about it when I asked you about the teams that are very competitive in the conference. You know, Georgia's good with Amber Stivrins. They're very good. South Carolina, we saw, they've got a very good transfer with Kyla Manning on the outside. It's a competitive conference. Good, smart shot off the edge of the block that time by Douglas.
And yes, Paul, you are correct. Florida did lose twice to Kentucky last year, but that's a pretty heated rivalry, so I'm going to check my notes before I speak to that.
All right. As you should. I have no hesitation opening my big mouth. I just remembered that. I remembered following it last year.
Yep. And the last 2 or 3 years have been very similar. So they all start to run together, and I think I'm not going to say the wrong thing when it comes to that rivalry.
Caesar with a rare hitting error, that time out of the back row, just her second error. Hitting error in volleyball nomenclature, if you will, you get stuffed on your side for a point or you hit a ball out of bounds. That goes down as an error. Auburn with the 8-7 advantage. Here is Shipes and another missed serve. Mentioned that this was the first of a back-to-back here in Auburn after this weekend. On the 30th and 31st on Halloween, Alabama will be in Gainesville. Then the Gators are at South Carolina and then finish up at home versus Georgia. And if you're wondering about the SEC volleyball scheduling, we'll explain that and how it came about in just a moment. Nice dig by White. And crack into the cross court by Thayer Hall. Back to the scheduling. In the ACC, the 15 teams were put into 3 different pods, play each team twice. But in the SEC, football weekends were taken into account, facility availability, and also geography. So the schedule is a little bit, how should I say, a little bit different than sort of just a formulaic kind of way of doing it. That ball flailed out of bounds by Douglas.
Yeah, and these SEC coaches will tell you, having dealt with it over the years, football Saturdays are a real thing in the South. And if you don't have to play, if you don't have to play at the same, where there's a home football game for the weekend, it makes your travel a whole lot easier. So that was something they definitely took into account.
Well, we talked about it. Really nice swing that time once again by Jordan Brown. Like to see her get a lot more opportunities.
Coach actually said Brown has such a nice arm that maybe getting her to swing from a pin as the season goes on would be a good choice for him.
The national championship and the tournament will be held in April. Selection Sunday, if my memory serves, is April 11th. And so the teams will play their 8-match fall schedule, take a break, then come back in January. And as you saw play, I think the graphic said 12 matches. We'll go back to that. Hall with a kill. And then the conference champion will be named. You'll play 6 conference opponents. Matches also will be played back-to-back. And the NCAA tournament this year, instead of being the usual 64 teams, will be limited to 48. So at-large bids will be much harder to come by.
Mary Wise said there is not a lot of room for error this year with only 48 teams, and these SEC schools have not yet been given the spring portion of their schedule, so they don't know exactly what that's going to look like.
And the conference champion will be calculated based on the results in the fall and in the spring. These matches, these 8 matches played in the fall, these count towards the automatic qualifier conference championship.
And so if you're a team who's been on the bubble the last couple years and you realize there's only 48 teams that are going to be selected rather than 64, this fall competition becomes very important. The match that we had, South Carolina and Georgia, 2 teams that made it into the tournament a year ago, the results of a South Carolina-Georgia weekend are very important.
You took the words, Missy, right out of my mouth, because 6 teams in the SEC made the NCAA tournament last year. That's the most since 2013. Florida, Kentucky, Texas A&M, Georgia, Missouri, and South Carolina. Florida, Texas A&M, and Kentucky all advanced to the regional round. But it'll be hard for the conference to get 6 teams in this year. Not because 6 teams won't be deserving. It's because the field, out of necessity, was cut from 64 to 48 for Auburn.
Auburn gaining a little life here, and that leads me, Paul, as you look about the excitement here on these Auburn players. The first swing, nope, second swing, and that'll get it done. But you see, can Florida stay focused over the course of 3 sets when the first 2 sets haven't been real close? And then to turn around and realize these 2 teams will play again tomorrow night. So there is that challenge of a coach, if you're Mary Wise, to keep your squad focused, not just for 3 sets, but for back-to-back nights. And what a beautiful rip down the line by 32 Haley Warner there for Florida.
I remember Haley Warner from last year, and maybe I saw her as a freshman as well. I was really impressed with her arm. More evidence of just how deep Florida is. She's right now playing behind another lefty on the right side in Holly Carlton. Not a good transition set. 10 feet off the net is better than 6 inches on top of the tape.
And I feel like that's one area where Florida could clean up their game in out-of-system situations where there's just a bump set from either left back or middle back. They haven't been able to get clean swings out of that.
Is that players trying to be too perfect, make the perfect set? Good is certainly good enough. That ball off the inside hand of the block. Once again, a kill by Warner.
Warner looking really comfortable over there swinging from that right side.
One point away from the immediate timeout. Sarame serving. Oh, I like that. Very nice swing by McClellan again.
Here comes Chesney off 1 foot. Lauren Dooley not able to make the move there. We've seen Tiara Caesar be successful with that block, but Chesney does a good job pulling it back cross court.
Chesney McClellan started her career for Nebraska and John Cook with the Cornhuskers. We've got a timeout here. Florida on top 2 sets to none, but Auburn making a go of it here in the 3rd set. Must-win situation for the Tigers. Back with more on the SEC Network right after this. Each doing that, and it's a wonderful, wonderful college community. Coming out of the timeout, here's McKissick. Green again, trying to look for high hands and missed that out of the back court.
You know, one of the things Coach Crouch talked about, Paul, was the fact that when things work, it creates motivation for the players to continue to want to fix other things. And so even just some success here in this 3rd set and some of the things that are working well for Auburn are a really good sign as they go back to work in the gym and put the hours in. That Florida block continuing to work as well. That's nothing new.
Well, they're paying a little more attention to number 8 in orange, Jaden Brown, who's had a couple of really impressive kills. And that time Caesar said, "Not on my watch." Look at this, really good passing again. I have been impressed with Auburn's ability. Look, Florida is an elite team, and that means they got to be good from the service line. But Auburn's done a really nice job in first ball contact.
And I think ball control is definitely one of the strengths in their gym, and so often that's not the case when you take over a program. You know, it was the case at Auburn was that they needed to generate more offense, but they really actually had some pretty good ball control.
Look out below. Caesar, let's update you on her numbers. 8 kills on 18 swings, hitting just about 300 for the match. Florida only hitting 241. Here is Caesar again. She has been really impressed. I expected her to be a dynamic attacker, but I've been really impressed with her ball control and blocking. Good touch by McKissick. And that ball tipped out of bounds. Thayer Hall. Mary Wise telling Thayer Hall to settle down a little bit. That's her 6th hitting error on 31 swings. Not having a very productive or efficient night for the 2-time All-American. Free ball for Auburn. And that's probably going to be a net violation called against the hustling Auburn Tigers. Long rally. Really nice overhand dig by Sarame.
And Thayer Hall continuing to use quite a bit of tipping shots. And I don't know if that's by choice, trying to catch that defense off, or if there's just a slight miscue in the timing right now between she and Marley Monserrat.
Well, they're talking it over right now. Everybody wants to play faster, but sometimes that just might not suit the rhythm and the technique of the game for Thayer Hall. Here's Hammonds. Perfect dig, and Caesar lighting it up out of the pipe.
And that's what it can look like, coming straight down the middle. Definitely the best connection of the night for Florida, coming out of the back row.
Well, playing fast, I think that is right in the wheelhouse of Tiara Caesar. I think she
Yes,
can take
I
it
do
fast
too. She has no problem
in the
with
pipe
that.
and on the left side as well. Yeah. And that doesn't mean one's better than the other. The only thing that matters is how many points you're scoring. Paige Hammonds missed that one awkwardly, the 6'1" senior out of Louisville. What's Hammond's role going to be this year, and how has that changed? She was all SEC last year.
Yeah, and she has been a big-time player for Florida over the last 3 years, oftentimes stepping up when other players are injured. When Thayer Hall was out and Florida was wondering where is that kill production going to come from in SEC play, Paige Hammond stepped right into that role and did a fantastic job. So,
she had an
like I said,
all-conference
Florida
year.
is deeper than they have ever been.
Excellent read and coverage that time by McKissick. McKissick again. Ball set a little bit tight. Got to be careful. Up into the block. Restart the point. And into the antenna. Unfortunate for Auburn. Both teams worked really hard during the course of that point.
We've talked a lot about Auburn's backcourt, and Florida certainly trying to match it. McKissick there with a great dig out of left back.
Dig totals, both teams with 42 apiece. Here is Monserrat, the setter out of Windermere, Florida. Another really good pass. And an excellent dig by Caesar. And then in transition, nice rejection off the left side by Val Green. One-on-one against Caesar.
One of the things Coach Crouch talked about when he talked about playing an unleashed style of volleyball is that he didn't necessarily want his blockers committing here and committing there. He wanted to give them a long rope and just let them go touch balls. And that's exactly what Val Green does there. She just comes and gets it.
Nice cross body, nicely down the line once again by Warner. Wow, what a deep team. Warner, number 32 out of Arkansas, comes off the bench, registering some kills.
Registering
Does
5
Florida,
of them on 5 attempts without a single error, hitting 1,000 right now.
Missy, does Florida need to find a way to get some more offensive production out of their middles? Pretty quiet for both of them. That's similar, I think, to what happened, not necessarily with Rachel Kramer last year, but do you think they need to find more points out of those positions?
Absolutely. I mean, I think every elite team will tell you it starts in the middle. You have to establish the middle to take a little pressure off of your outsides. And so I think for Florida, finding that rhythm in the middle, and even as quickly as tomorrow night, they will get another shot as they, get back at it.
Nicely done. I like the slide. That's McClellan going behind the setter, the Nebraska transfer. So Brown, McClellan, Shipes on the outside along with Green. There's some pieces at Auburn.
Certainly, and this one is definitely not over yet with, McClellan starting to connect like that.
Caesar. Boy, that is nice looking rhythm to that offense.
And I really think Marley Monserrat can flourish in that set, that quick set to the outside to Caesar. I think it plays into her faster athletic style of setting.
Number 3,
Tiara Caesar once again, Florida at match point.
And that ball was to the floor in a hurry.
Sarame serving up the first of 5 match points for the Florida Gators, and it's going to take one more than that.
And those are the moments you can't recreate in the gym. With all the training in the world, you got to step back there on match point, and that's why everyone's happy to be back at it, getting these real match reps. And a lot of coaches have even said, we don't know exactly where our team is.
Ball is served over the end line, and that'll do it. Brent Crouch, his first match for his new team, rebuilding the Auburn program, hopefully with the same speed and success that he did at the University of Portland before going on to USC.